Greetings, methodology students. I hope this finds you well. I cannot believe we are in week 7 of our 8-week sprint through methodologies. It's been quite a ride. I've enjoyed it and learned a lot from you and re-engaging the issues and themes and ideas in the readings. And I hope it's been helpful and challenging and encouraging to you as you take what you've discovered and learned through these weeks and applied it to the rest of your coursework and program. And as you think about as you think about art and art history, as you do your classroom teaching and do the work that you do out in the real world. This week we're focusing on feminism, politics of identity, globalism, and its impact on art historical methodology. One of the things we've been pursuing during this class has been the origins of the discipline of art history in modernity, in modern philosophical thought, in the philosophy of Kant and Hegel, for example, in which these two thinkers are trying to think the human subject anew outside the context of the church and received Christian tradition and the kind of theological, philosophical, dogmatic blend of thinking that stitched the world in a comfortable way. With that tapestry ripped apart, or a loose thread being found by Descartes or Voltaire and being pulled and tugged, the tapestry of the Christian worldview, the Christian foundation, this Christendom thinking and experiencing the world fell apart. And for thinkers who were thinking in an adjacent way from the church, like Kant and other Enlightenment thinkers, Descartes, attempted to restitch the human subject in relationship to the world, to law, to the divine, to nature in new ways. And one of the things that our readings over the past few weeks with Marxism's, the social history of art and culture, psychoanalysis, deconstruction, structuralism, and then this week's readings are emphasizing is that the human subject, they're questioning whether the human subject that Kant and Hegel posit is a limited one. That is, it's not the universal thinking human subject. It is a European, white, heterosexual, male thinking subject. And the question that these readings are pursuing, especially this week, is does the modern Enlightenment European constitution of the human subject exclude an aspect of human experience and human cognition, and thus render the human subject incomplete? That other ways of thinking about the human subject that are influenced by gender, sexuality, economic location, geographic location, race, can help complement. Now, this isn't unusual in the fact that from the very beginning with Kant and Hegel, the focus was trying to complement human rationality, was trying to complement this idea of humanity being defined by reason. Because for the Romantics that were writing and thinking in the wake of Kant, rationality wasn't enough. There was poetry, there were the arts, there were other forms of aesthetic experience that unfolded the world and provided knowledge about the world that gave the human subject its robustness. And so, perhaps uh, thinking that thinks through the human subject in ways that account for gender and race and sexuality, economic location, race and nationality, have something to say and can contribute to our thinking about the human subject. Now, as it relates to the arts, of course, the arts, because they are experienced subjectively, that they are experienced in a way that is not irrational, but beyond rational, supra-rational. That rethinking the human subject with regards to gender and sexuality, etc., might find a very good home, or a means of entrance, the vestibule into the house of the human subject, through the arts. And so art history would be a natural place for thinking about these theories because of its focus upon thinking and experiencing and expressing the world in other ways, felt ways, heard ways, seen ways. That other ways of thinking about the human subject might make an important contribution. So I want you to be sensitive to that through these week's readings. I also want to remind you that next week is final paper week. So there's not a discussion prompt. I want you to read the conclusion of the Preziosi textbook. And I want you to just work on your final paper. So I'll be available. Write me with any questions about your final paper. I'm looking forward to reading them. I'm excited about the directions that you all will be taking in your final papers, and I hope that there are means by which that they can be a stepping stone for further thought and reflection throughout your program. Also, I wanted to comment on some of the readings from last week regarding Van Gogh's shoes and this very interesting triple conversation between Heidegger, German existentialists' philosophical use of a painting that depicts shoes, a peasant's shoes that Van Gogh painted, and a German immigrant, U.S. immigrant, Marxist art historian, who's trained as a medievalist, Meyer Shapiro, and his art historicizing Van Gogh's shoes, scolding Heidegger because they're not a peasant's shoes; they are the artist's shoes. They're a Parisian's shoes. They're a city dweller's shoes. And then the French Jewish deconstructive theorist Jacques Derrida writing about both of these thinkers and the shoes and what the painting owes to them. And it's a very interesting reflection, activation on different ways of thinking about painting, thinking about one painting, interpreting one painting, and the dynamics of including one painting into a particular kind of either philosophical context or an art historical context. The question that is interesting to pose is, where is truth there? If Heidegger is wrong historically, is he right philosophically? Are there aspects of this painting that are doing what Heidegger wants them to do epistemologically with regard to unfolding the implications about the world and what painting can do to reveal it? And likewise, what knowledge is gained in historical knowledge of the painting? And then as Derrida steps back and analyzes the painting in relationship to the discourse, what is revealed there in that meta-discourse? And I've just been infinitely fascinated by those conversations, and they seem to embody what this methodologies class is about. It's about different ways the paintings are activated and how we think about them. The important aspect is understanding the limitations and the potential of our perspective. And also, given the fact that the kind of subjective perspectivalism that is being emphasized of these past few weeks with regard to thinking about the human subject and art in relationship to the sexuality of the human subject, the nationality, the gender of the human subject, etc., and how we understand that is how we can prevent falling into just a hopeless relativism, where as a white heterosexual male, I can't have a conversation with a black lesbian art historian. And how we understand these perspectives as contributing to the human subject broadly conceived or diversely conceived, and how it can maintain rather than restrict public communication and a mutual understanding. And then also within that context of an idea of objective truth, how do we understand that? And also, how do we understand those religiously inflected, faith-based perspectives also? Does that relativism give faith-based approaches to the world, to art, to culture, to history, a seat at the table? And just a seat at the table? Seating a kind of infinite plurality and relativity that, say, a Christian perspective is on the same level as a Marxist perspective and a psychoanalytic perspective, just another quote-unquote methodological tool? Or is it something other than that? Greater than that? Lesser than that? Those are questions that that I want you to think about as well, because as you are thinking about and mobilizing works of art in your world, your location, as a human subject plays an important role in it. And if nothing else, what this methodologies class implies is that there is no neutral, uninflected, non-constituted way of thinking about and interpreting works of art. And so a greater self-consciousness and awareness is crucial, especially for those of us who are working within the discipline of art history. So I hope those thoughts are helpful to you. I'm also teaching. I have many of you for classes for the next session in the fall. The Writing Art Criticism course, which is a course that's dear to me. I teach it less as a practicum in terms of writing art criticism, and more of a charting the history and development of modern art criticism, within which I'll give you some exercises in writing art criticism. And the other course is a course I've never taught before, regional modernism, and I'm excited to teach that. And I have a particular perspective that I'll be sharing with you, and I hope it'll be interesting to you and exciting for you. And if you haven't registered for any of those classes, please do. I'd love to have you. And for those that have registered, you'll get a second helping of whatever I offer. So anyway, enjoy your week. Take care. Bye-bye.